talking about money.
No.
You got me?
We put this panel together really because how to make money is the reason that most of the media companies represented in this room and in the world exist. If you were mentoring a media startup that had limited capital, what revenue models would you point them to?
Essentially build an audience. The question is where that audience lives, and that definitely depends on the content creator. I think it's a lot easier right now to establish an audience through social networks where there are essentially viral resharing metrics where your scale can increase.
Assuming we have a couple years to build this business, I would...
3 years.
3 years?
3 years.
I would definitely have advertising in the picture as a revenue stream, and so pixels associated with your content, regardless of where they live. And then I would definitely have a membership type model or some sort of subscription model, but I'd like to elevate it to the brand.
So I'll speak specifically to advertising because that's all I care about. I would say that once this company is up and running, has some viewership and is selling advertising, that trust the majority of those standard ad unit sales to a great technology that knows how to mediate demand, and then build a smart sales team that's lean, that knows how to sell both direct and programmatic.
You know, all of this is correct. You know, follow the audience, follow the money, diversify your money. But it so depends on what your business is. And so we have parts of our business where it's all about numbers. We got to get the numbers up, we got to get people, we got to go to social media, we've got to do this. And there are other parts of our business where we just need to find the people who are looking for what we have, and it's a defined set of those people. And if we can get to them, we have lots of opportunities to help them and to profit from that.
Tell us about some new editorial products that are driving rev or attracting new advertising.
I think video probably has the most potential moving forward in terms of a monetizable asset. In terms of consumption trends, we're seeing that mobile video consumption is increasing, that video is a much more responsive unit, and that's a place where you can monetize in multiple ways, outside, around the video, through banner inventory, by doing pre-roll or post-roll advertisement.
You know, we see this distinct editorial movement trying to shift readers to viewers, and it's working.
The production costs around video, though, are really high, and we watched a number of companies, some fantastic companies in New York that have really wrestled with that production versus revenue model and how to aggregate those eyeballs. On platform, do you think that that's a losing strategy, that they should just go to where those eyeballs already are?
I mean, I think so. Again, there's not a one-size-fits-all. So I just spent a week in Germany, spending a lot of time with the Bild group. Bild is like the New York Post, but at a national level. They're
Or the Daily News.
Sorry.
It's all right.
And I'll just like sneak out the back right now. But no, I mean, it's trashy, so.
Oh, well,
That's what I was like. So anyway, it's massive in terms of scale, and it's, you know, talking to these guys, and they're looking at the U.S. media market, and a lot of publishers are seeing, you know, 60% plus of their traffic coming in from social or from Facebook. These guys in Germany, where the market's a little bit different, they're still getting 70% direct traffic on a daily basis. If you're getting the traffic to your site, monetize that. I just believe it's wherever you can get the most consumption, and I believe that media companies, publishers, brands, people are going to have to be less sensitive as to where their content lives.
You go where the audience is. Ultimately, the monetization will follow. Facebook has to get more aggressive with getting real quality content on their site. YouTube has to get more aggressive when quality content's going direct to Amazon or Netflix rather than to a social platform. They're going to step up and make the terms more favorable.
With, you know, if everybody in the room is working on video, there are only so many minutes and so many hours in it.
What are the risks that publishers assume when turning over their content brand to third-party platforms, and what are the risks for not getting on board?
Anyone who says that the opportunity of Facebook is the future, or if they say that that's the death of all publishing, they're being hyperbolic and we don't know. And what happened last week is a small step. Ultimately, content will go wherever consumers want it, and you'll find ways to monetize it. That's the way content's always worked. You have great content, you will find your consumers, and you'll figure out ways to monetize it long term. So in this short, this short little window we're in, where there's an ebb and flow, and there's this hysteria in the last couple of weeks, it's worth pointing out, I think, the three things that really matter to a publisher in a deal like that are the relationship with the consumer. They actually have to know it's your content, they have to know it's your brand. That matters. That's the premium that you have in the marketplace. The ability to measure that audience matters. You actually need to be able to know that you're reaching that audience. And the third is the financial term.
With the ongoing proliferation of distribution platforms for publishers, what do you see as the greatest challenge or opportunity for content monetization in the upcoming year?
What's happening is that the proliferation of all these platforms, specifically these social platforms, it's making it harder and harder to kind of narrow down where your audience is, to fish for them to come back to your site. And the platforms themselves are productizing a lot of behaviors to make it more difficult to use social platforms as marketing tools. Facebook specifically, as we've seen recently, they've had a huge push towards native video, as well as very recently talking about posting articles directly onto Facebook. Most publishers right now are using Facebook or seeing Facebook as a major referrer of traffic to their sites, and Facebook is starting to cap that reach. So that becomes a huge challenge to publishers that are monetizing through anything on their site.
And I think that that's both, while an opportunity to leverage the scale, the reach, and the speed of something like Facebook, it also takes publishers further and further away from the customer. And that's something that I think we're all as an industry going to have to grapple with.
And so I encourage them to run to programmatic, but also shine a light on its issues right now. That most of programmatic is still direct response advertising, targeting, and doesn't matter where the media runs. To put some data points out there, I'm talking to publishers here, right? 70% of the top 10 companies in the ad marketplace right now of the 70% of the dollars go to companies that are not publishers, they're not content companies, which leaves 30%, right, for everybody outside of the top 10. 2/3 of all digital advertising is being bought and sold based on performance and direct response. It doesn't matter where the ads run, it doesn't matter if your media is good or bad, it's being bought and sold without any context. So,
Jason, that's depressing.
it is depressing. So what I'm telling you is, and the content companies' revenue hasn't grown over the last 5 years. If you look at, not our members, if you look at content companies. So yes, it's depressing, but it's sobering, but hey, notice that all of that revenue and all the growth that are, the friends over at the IAB that represent a lot of the industry, all that revenue is actually going to Twitter, Facebook, and Google. So you need to understand that when you set your strategy, and you need to understand that programmatic will only be a good thing for you if there's actually transparency into the inventory, and that marketer actually cares where the ads run.
Now that the revolution is finally here, what are the biggest adjustments that publishers have to make in order to keep the tap of ad dollars flowing?
What it all comes down to at this juncture, in my opinion, whether it's direct sold all the way through non-guaranteed, is competition. So, I work for an ad exchange which has its own demand, but when we work with publishers, we advocate bringing as much demand as humanly possible. Ad networks, other exchanges. It's the way that publishers will make top dollar for their inventory is to allow everyone to be at each other's throats. What I do encourage everyone to do is think about the purpose of what you're doing and why you're doing it, because we certainly see a lot of private marketplace deals happening without a ton of thought behind why and what's the cost-benefit ratio of moving direct buys to programmatic and the other way around. And that's something we try very hard to do as a partner for our publishers, to look at the data and help them understand what really will make sense in these new environments that we all should be and have to be taking advantage of.